Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In today's video, we're going to do the round 8 even preview, as well as looking at what I'm doing with my various SuperCoach fantasy sports sides. So we'll get stuck into the players list, look at the most traded in and out. So traded out at the top of the list, Jacob Kiraz, and obviously out for 3 weeks. His price will drop. So when he comes back and plays a couple of games, he'll probably be right for the picking right around the Origin period. The Bulldogs do have a favourable bye schedule during that time, so he could then potentially become a really good sort of pod player. If you can afford to hold him, well done. But I think for most of us, we've got to get out of the pick. 2 and 3 on the list, Khan Pereira and Taruva. So both cash cows that have made their cash for the time being. Khan Pereira is an absolute sell. Taruva, I think is a sell too, but you'll see when I do my trades in a minute that I'm going to go a slightly different direction with that. Kyle Matangi at number 4 is a sell, similar sort of to Kraz, out for a few weeks. I think he's a bit longer, potentially 6 to 8. A lot of cash on his head. He's going to dip in price, and it could be a nice little pod option for the run home if he gets back and fit. Joe Tarpany, not sure why there's so many people trading him out. He's on the buy. I guess maybe buy Origin buy coverage might be the issue. I know I bought him in because he's not playing Origin, but I haven't actually looked at the schedule that close. I know that's something I'm planning on doing in a couple of weeks. Some people might be getting ahead of the game, however. But yeah, not sure. I'd hold. I don't think there's any issues with having him in the side. Paul Alamotti. So yeah, I mean, if you need to cash out someone to upgrade elsewhere, Alamotti's an okay pick. I know I just got a comment on the stock market video about the Bulldogs buy schedule, as I touched on with Carraz. So for me, Alamotti is probably more of a hold now that I've considered it. Um, Being fit and available to play in the back line of the Bulldogs is enough at the moment. So he's locked in with his job security. He was already in the starting team from the start of the year, so there wasn't that much stress, to be honest. But yeah, he just needs I think the rest of the team to get fit so that he can flourish around them. Wade Egan, so yeah, another week out with his concussion concerns. So I think if you can flip to someone like a Marshall King, that's a good shout. Um, talking to a mate today who wanted to bring in Blake Brayley. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, so that's a fair enough trade if you're worried about getting the points. Jacob Preston, so he's peaked in price. So if you don't think he's a keeper, he's averaging 60. You might want a little bit more. I understand, but again, sort of sounds like a bit of a broken record. The buy schedule could be quite favourable, and the fact that he is actually playing every week and doing well. Um, and we know he can find his way over the try line too. So um, yeah, I think I'm going to hold him for as long as I can. But yeah, again, if you're upgrading, it's probably fair enough. Reid Marnie, so another one sort of in the the Wade Egan sort of boat. If you're sideways to Marshall King, might be a good shout. But yeah, I think people might be getting off just because of the Bulldogs' struggles with their fitness in the side. So I wouldn't trade if I had him, but I can see why people would. And Isaiah Qatar, a few people getting off of him, um, probably for Josh Schuster, I'd imagine. Some people might be, with some other cash outs, might be able to get up to Cody Walker, which would be really cool if he could. I know a mate of mine who's going the dual position sort of swing with Schuster to bring in Ryan Madison out of Katoa. So he's done well for himself. Yeah, so he's just going to make that slow cash, so you can get rid of him whenever you're ready to sort of commit to a second 5'8". Traded in on the other side, so the number one traded in player is Joey Manu. So named at 5'8". We know how he goes when he's basically not playing in the centre and is a bit more on the ball. Um, Obviously, as well, during the Origin period, he'll get a shot at fullback. So you'd assume so. They've got Swali there as well, who could play fullback. However, his defection to rugby union might have sort of put the nail in that coffin, perhaps. So, yeah, Joey Manu is a good pick, especially given the reshuffle there at the Roosters. Ruben Garrick is number two pick. Playing the Tigers this week, haven't won a game, which sort of suggests there could be points on offer. And when there's points on offer, Ruben Garrick usually does pretty well. So another good option. You could wait a week, a bit like Manu, you could wait a week, but points are maybe a bit more valuable than cash at this point, in the sense that we've made a lot of money out of our rookies and that sort of thing now. Hayes Dunster is number three. This is, I guess, a bit of a sketchy centre wing downgrade option, just given that he really needs to score tries for his numbers to be any good. He just becomes an auto emergency nightmare. I'd almost suggest of getting him, trading him out, reverse the trade, whatever, and going for a almost like a nuff option. It's probably a bit too early in the season for that, to be honest, but that's probably what I rate Dunster as a pick. Happy to be proven wrong. It would be good if you could get a 234k player who's got the job security on the wing and scores some tries. Um, but I'm a bit skeptical on that. You can even probably wait a week if you want to see how real the pick is. Simonson's sitting in the reserves, that sort of thing. So yeah, maybe not, but some people might just be desperate for a cheap playing number this week. Josh Schuster at number four, so assuming he plays, that number should probably be a bit higher. Probably a lot of people like myself already bought him in, knowing that he will play eventually. Just being very patient with it. So, yeah, good shout if you get him in. Jared Croker on the buy. So I talked about this in the stock market video. Just wait and see what happens with the team next week. If he's named in the side, he's a downgrade option for me, probably Taruva, but whoever else you've still got in that cash cow sort of category. Ryan Madison at number six. I do like this pick. If I was going to upgrade in my second row, he'd probably be the number one target at the moment. Just again, given the Origin schedule is quite nice to the Eels. Having to think about it today, he might be on the edge of the Origin squad. I haven't, again, thought that far ahead into the future, but other than Murray and Yo, I was sort of struggling to pick any locks in the sort of second row sort of rotation. They'll probably have three or four players in the side, so who the other one or two are remains to be seen. Junior Tupou, so a lot of people go on the cash grab sort of option, maybe sidewaysing a Taruva or a Warbrick type, or even Khan Prairie. You would make money on that trade, and Junior Tupou will go up in price over the next couple of weeks. So a viable option if you can swing it. If you need to downgrade the cash, um, you can go one of the cheaper options. Max King, so the super pod himself, love this trade in. Would be a bit concerned if people were going Tarpany to Max King. I think they're on a par. It's a bit of a wasted trade, perhaps, but if you're potentially upgrading someone like a Liero or those sort of types, or Udo Ikamanu even, to get a third front rower that has that flexibility, yeah, Max King is a great shout. Nico Hines, so don't know why people didn't get on him last week. Maybe they were hoping he would fade. He has a break even over 100, but that's still lower than his average, which is a bit concerning. So, you know, you're spending up a lot of money. He's pretty much peaked in price, but as we always say, he is a gun, so you can bring a gun in whenever. And Jerry Marshall King. So, like I said, out of the sort of hooker options, those selling Wade Egan perhaps, or I know a few people getting out of like a Harry Grant or something. I wouldn't advise on that. But yeah, if you can get Marshall King in as your second hooker option, I think that's a really nice option to have. Um, the Dolphins, I think, play around 13, which is a bonus. Marshall King's obviously from New Zealand, so Origin's not an issue. Um, yeah, so get on in that case. Might have a quick look at captains too, although it's going to become more and more the same, I think. So yeah, Nico Hines and Nathan Cleary, like I think that's pretty much where I'm tending to fall as well. Whichever one you believe is the better pick. You can see I've got the C on Cleary at the moment, but that's because I haven't locked in my trades yet. Tommy Turbo against Tigers, that's always a good chance too. Reece Walsh, he's killing it, so I can't blame you for getting on him. And then after that, it sort of peters out into the pod category. VC option, so Reece Walsh just ahead there. I guess they do play earlier in the week. So you'd have to almost VC Cleary if you're going to captain Walsh, I would have thought. Nico Hines is up there, Turbo, Harry Grant, interestingly enough. Might be a few people having him from this week because they play the last game of the round. So if you want him in the conversation, he would have to be a captain. Payne Haas, as usual, is there or thereabouts. Munster, Latrell, both pod shouts at that position. Cody Walker, Cam Murray. So, South looks like a few people picking they'll go well against Penrith. Might have a look at let's go top 5%. I think might be a bit more accurate in terms of the actual players. Excuse me, the serious players at least. And Nico Hines, clear leader. Quite a few people on Tarpany. That's interesting. Don't know what that's about. Maybe that's a leftover from last week, perhaps. Britton Nakora, that's interesting. 8.6% captained out of the top 5%. I didn't think he was that well owned. Oh, he's up to 11%. There you go. Oh, this within the top 5%. So, yeah, I think, yeah, he's still only 3% owned. So, probably the other super pot along with Max King. But that's very interesting that people at the top not only sort of picking him in bigger numbers, but putting the C on him. Reece Walsh, pretty popular VC option there too, by the looks of it. So yeah, I think you got to have Hines in the conversation against the Dogs for sure. So what that means for my team going into this week is the forwards are going to sort of pretty much stay as is because we want to fix our centre wing. It's pretty ordinary at the moment with the four cheapies, three sort of guns, and one of those being injured. So the first trade is Karaz out, and just search for it might be the easiest way. Joey Manu in. So we actually make money on that trade, which is pretty wild when you think about it. Um, so yeah, I think particularly being so lowly ranked, we need to start making some bold moves. Not that I think that's the boldest move; it's the most popular move of the week. But a more conservative approach would be to wait and see. If it goes off the experiment, he could be there for a while at 5'8". Sam Walker could be on a 1 week sort of rocket, go back to reserve grade and show us what you're made of, sort of thing. Yeah, so at this point, I'm happy to take the risk. Worst case scenario, he can always sort of be sideways in a few weeks, even if it needs to be. Could hold him through Origin and wait for the price spike to come before getting out of the pit. And he'll probably do as okay as these cheaper options anyway. The second one is Khan Pereira is number one on the chopping block, so he's out. And the target that I'm going for this week is Ruben Garrick. So, like I said, up against the Tigers, he's a good chance of scoring some points or at least kicking some goals off the back of everyone else scoring their points. Um, you know, Tommy Turbo in Origin contention, obviously. So he's another one we want to make sure we have. Plays round 13, so that's a great bonus. Um, might not play fullback. That's the only sort of drawback in the Origin period. You know, they've got like Kyo Weeks and the like sitting there in the wings. A bit of an easier like for like replacement, but I mean, they could do worse and play Garrick there anyway. And we'll sort of hope that that happens. But as you can see, we need to make some cash to make this happen. We need 157k. So it comes down to we can't really cut Alamotti. You know, he probably hasn't got enough money on him to get anyone. So it comes down to Taruva and Warbrick. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go Warbrick. I know a lot of people going Taruva this week. And just because Taruva's, job security is better. As soon as Pappenhausen comes back, Warbrick's out of the team anyway. So, I might need to hang on to Taruva as a sort of centre wing six type option, potentially. And so I did sort of allude to in the stock market video that I had a sort of slightly left field approach to the cheap option I'm going with in the centre wing. And if I scroll all the way down, I'm going to go with Jarrell Skelton. So the theory behind this is I really feel like Jake Cavalier is not going to get up with that knee injury this week. Like, I know they're desperate to play him because they're so depleted in the back line, but surely, he can't keep playing through the busted knee. He could barely play through it last week when it was warm and working. Um, and so the other interesting thing is that Skelton and also Carl Opolupo, the young 5'8" halfback, were not named in the New South Wales Cup side, which suggests that perhaps they've got a plan for them to play in the first grade side. So this allows me to make those other trades. So, this might be a 1 or 2 week sort of thing, which I'm okay with, I think, at the time. um, assuming Averillo does get up, Braden Burns has to get up as well, I think. They're both named. No, sorry, they're not both named in the centres. Burns is named on the wing. I think either way, they're going to play Skelton in that position if they need. If both are out, Skelton will play centre. Ockenbaugh will play wing. But I think if one of them's unavailable, Ockenbaugh will stay on the bench. Skelton will come in. But this is completely like my conjecture. Don't take this as read that he is playing. It's just my hope on it, I suppose. But assuming he doesn't get up or doesn't get a run, we do have a backup option, so we can get out of this into Tyrell Sloan there and bring in Buller from the Tigers. So interesting pick when they've got Charlie Staines, Dane Laurie also in the side. But the fact they've put him at fullback means that they see something in him at that position. I've seen a couple of quotes and reports this week around Dane Laurie. He's probably really a half. So if anything, that makes me a bit sceptical on Brandon Wakeham's job security, if anything. Um, and Charlie Staines they see as more of a winger, that would like to play fullback. There's enough of them already in the NRL. So, the fact they've got this kid, and when you look at the guns, so the argument against this is, you're locked out of a Walsh, a Teddy, who's the other one I'm trying to think of? I've lost it. The other gun fullback. Hang on, let's get rid of it, and I'll find it. Latrell. Sorry, Latrell. Mad respect to you, bro. Um, yeah, they're all going to play Origin, you'd assume. So having someone like Buller, he doesn't play around 13, admittedly, which is a bit of an issue. But, players getting rested and the fatigue of Origin and stuff, it might be a little good pod shout. Again, it is a bit sketchy on job security when you've got Laurie, Charlie Staines, they're in the team already, ready to replace him as needed. But again, like Joey Manu, it's time to make some big calls. Um, yeah, so we'll lock the team in like this. As I said, it's actually I should have put Skelton back in there, but the more I think about it, the more I'm talking myself into Buller, to be perfectly honest. So we might even leave it like that. I've committed to a change during the video. So in terms of what the team will look like, the back line we need to get Garrick in there. So we've now got four sort of decent centre wings. Um, Ideally, Marzu would become Lachlan Miller next week. We've got the money for that. I think their break evens are favourable to making that happen. Um, and then one more on the bench just for cover during buys and stuff like that would be good. Probably target someone like a Carraz after his injury return, but that's not an urgent replace at this point. The rest of the team probably as is. We're going to bring Hines in. He's going to be the captaincy option this week against the Dogs. Doesn't leave us with a lot of options for the VC, but that's okay. Um, we're actually going to put it on Dylan Brown against the Broncos. So, you know, going real rogue. I don't expect we will be using this just because Hines will be super solid. But it's more hopeful that Brown goes absolutely off in the game. So then just the reserves. So I think we've got to stick with Luke, even though he's a bit up and down. Obviously, we can't get into Tarpany this week due to the bye. Preston, that's solid. Cleary, absolutely. So we just need to come up with one more. So looking at matchups and the like, none of these guys have overly favourable matchups. The Dolphins against the Titans, we might go with Katoa, but he hasn't shown too much. So I think we've got to go with Schuster against the Tigers as the fourth option. Um, yeah, and then so I guess it's a toss up between Luke and Udi Kamanu for number four. If we're being honest, it's the upside versus the base. Um, yeah, I reckon, what, we'll go with the upside option. I think might not come off, but we're okay with that. Might just a couple of other tweaks because Ford plays last, so we'll bring Preston into the side. The Titans play before Manly, so that's fine. And we can't do too much else. Well, we could put Luke in first. Might might as well. Just because he does play first, so he'll be locked away. And then if we need to get to Udi Kamano or something later through the reserves, we can do that. Cool. So that's the NRL SuperCoach team. Quickly go through the other ones. We don't need to spend as much time on these. Um, so again, we've got three trades again. I'm not sure what's going on with our fantasy, but we are loving it. So the player, so I think the players I want to get rid of are already on the bench. So the first one I'm thinking is Jack John's out, and gonna bring in Crossland. So starting hooker for the Knights. Um, should get some dual position a bit later in the season, and definitely, an increase in cash. Khan Pereira's out. We're going to cash out on him, and we're going to get in. Definitely going to get in Buller because I guess he only needs to play one game and he starts making money, so that's fine. And then with the third pick, because having a quick look at the team, there's quite a few players that are going to be in amongst the Origin side. So I'm thinking what we can do is confirm those trades first. We'll get out of Val Holmes and we'll go on the Manu trade. So, it's a sideways sort of trade. The difference being, Val Holmes is playing Origin, you'd assume, for Queensland. So just getting back in here. So we've still got Pezzett, so he can play as a little loophole option. Crossland, going to swap with Luke, so he seems to be the next best option. Qatar against the Gold Coast, I think we'll score all right in the fantasy sense, so I've got him in there too. And then what we can do is we can put Luke in the sort of shotgun role. as far as the loophole goes. All right, and then failing that, Buller will probably get an elevation into the reserve list if Luke doesn't go well in the first game of the round. So we're burning through trades, but you know what? Fantasy just a bit of fun. We're not stressed. Sports deck. I need to log in. That's annoying. Should have got prepared beforehand. So edit the team. I might have already done the changes from the video. So Manu for Karaz. Kalen Ponga was the shout for Khan Pereira as the sort of super pod option. Let's confirm those. And do we want to do anything else with this 150k? What could we do? What can we do for Kepi? Probably not much. Hang on, what's happened here? Oh, we have undone the trades. Whoops. Right, we'll go again. So Kiraz out. Um, I'll find him. We got too far. There we go. Joe Manu. Khan Pereira out. And we'll find him down here somewhere. Kalen Ponga. Oh, hang on. What if I missed there? Something. How did I have more money before? Don't know. That's all right. We'll go make a call there. No, we don't. We can move Val Holmes back into the centres. Nickel Clockstad, Ponga, yes. So VC Cleary, Captain Hines. So, the great thing about Sports Deck is we can do that with a little loophole. We need to get Schuster in, so Sonny Luke's out here. Schuster in. Alongside Burton, maybe we could get out of, but don't really like any of the other options. So yeah, happy to have him on the bench. Sports Deck team done. So I suppose we'll do the AFL one first because it's still all logged in. Ideally, we'd do the Bulldogs project first. Um, so with this one, we're going to go Mackenzie out, uh, and based on our break evens, we're going to go with Matt Roberts. That gives us 138. So I think something a bit different, because players like Jimby, I know a few people getting out of Chandler. You find that they do peak in price and people get off, and then they usually have a rest and then kick and go again. So what I'm actually thinking of doing is getting out of Cowan and bringing in Chase Jones. So not the most popular option. A lot of people are afraid of these mid-price options. Um, Due to, I guess, just the fact that you either want to upgrade or downgrade sort of thing. But this becomes a stepping stone. I think if he keeps going the way he is, guys like him and Buckley, combined with like McKenna and Wilmot, easily become a couple of guns like Tommy Stewart and either a Sinclair or a Sicily sort of type. Which, when we look at our team, is probably about all we need to flesh out the defence. So then, yeah, starting next week, we'll really start to hammer in on the midfielders, I think. So I don't want to use the trade boost this week. Want to probably start looking at a couple 2 down, 1 up sort of things to make that happen. The one sort of exception to that rule, I suppose, is if Moyle is playing his third game. So Jared Witts, if he's out again, then I am going to potentially look at doing a boost. And I think the one that would have to go is Oscar Baker, and then just get all the DPP happening. So it probably doesn't matter too much. Asava in and Ned Moore. So, I think that becomes an option. Then we are a bit stuck here with these guys, but um, yeah, I think that's fine. We can work around that. it could be Chandler, come in, that sort of thing. So I'll take that one out because I don't particularly want to do it. That's just, I guess, if named. Jared Witts is definitely out. It's just taking forever to load. That's annoying. Uh-oh. Right, so we can do that. Get rid of that. So we'll just swing Jones in. We do have the option if Jimby's rested to play Wilmot. That's fine. We can live with that. Get Davey out of here. Roberts is the man. Probably put Baker as the emergency just because they're playing first. Um, and now let's move the C on to English. Oh, we forgot about Tom Green. We might need to play Baker. That's a bit annoying. Can we? Yeah, we might be able to do something here with like a Davey to Taranto, Davey to Chandler. Yep, what's happened there? Sorry, too many incorrect clicks and someone trying to call. Get away. So you could even be him above Ryan, something like that. So then that would allow us to put Green in there. So like obviously the structure's a bit out of whack at the moment. You want these two guys down here, maybe one or two of these guys up here, but we can start fixing that next week. We just need to get a side on the field this week, and that's probably the best way to do it. So vice captain, captain options, Tim English playing first. Chances are we'll lock him in. We've got plenty of loophole options, and Dawson can be the captain this week if that pick falls through. All right. So the last, I guess, team to look at today is the Bulldog Project. So after the stuff up last week, we've got a bit to fix here. So kick out, Kiraz out, Parham out. So we need to get rid of the unfortunately Deadwood. They all Bulldogs, which is a bit flat, but I guess it is what it is. So in terms of our trades in, um, it's a very good question. Haven't thought too much about this, to be honest. So I would like to play with a couple of different options. So we could potentially move Eisenhuth into the second row and open up the swing here at the back. And if we go with a Skelton, or again Buller would work in this case, so the bottom dollar sort of option. I think being the Bulldog Project, we do have to bring Skelton in if he is playing. We can then load up on a couple of guns, potentially 1.5 Milskis. So we could go Miller and we could go whoever we want. So yeah, we might sit a week on Joey Manu, I think. Where's Garrick? Get him in the side. Can't find him. What was he, about 48th or something? No, a bit lower than that. Oh, there he is, 73. It's a bit dire. So confirm. Alright, so then in terms of the team setup, bit sacrilege, but go against the Dogs with the captaincy option. Payne Haas would have to be the vice captain, I believe. Pangai needs to come onto the bench. Alamotti and Lemuelu can swap out. So yeah, Cleary, Pangai, Ford. Yep, cool. Melbourne play last, so Pangai will come into the starting team. So yeah, it should look like this. So you're going with Miller instead of Garrick, because we want him. So he got the hammer as well. So again, nice sort of um, centre wing options. Sloane's going to kick up in price, so we can cash him out in the near future. Got Schuster already. So yeah, so this is shaping up all right. Again, we've still got the dead rookies in the front row, um, but that's okay. Yeah, we could. Oh no, we can't do that because we need to trade them out. That's fine. Yeah. So anyway, we'll leave it there. That's how it's all shaping up. I can't foresee too many changes. But as always, feel free to comment if you've got any thoughts or suggestions on the plans. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the content. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.